Hi everybody, we are Mike and Brenda Baker, and today our topic is dealing with neglect in remarriage.
No, it's not funny. So let's define neglect for a minute, okay? Because it seems like everybody has this idea, well, he doesn't do this or she doesn't do that. Neglect in a remarriage is just like neglect in a regular marriage, okay? It's when one is not noticing the other's needs, okay? Or one is completely absorbed in oneself and as a result not seeing the needs of the other. So, it's like the atypical movie you see where the husband's out drinking with his buddies every night, and then he comes home and the wife can just cook and the wife can just clean and the wife can just take care of the kids and the wife can that's neglect. Okay, that's what we're talking about is neglect. So neglect in a remarriage, like I said, looks exactly like it does in a regular marriage.
Exactly, yeah. And it's really easy to spot, at least for us, it's really easy for us to spot the marriages that are not 100% right with each other.
Yeah.
And so don't think that you're fooling your friends.
Yeah.
You might be fooling yourself that you're neglecting your spouse, but everyone around you sees it. So just be honest with yourself and work on being your best.
Yeah. So the next question then, once we've defined, what neglect is, the real question you got to ask is it really neglect? Now, what do I mean by that? There are a lot of spouses who will like to point at their spouse when they're unhappy about something, and they'll say, well, he doesn't notice this or she doesn't notice that. Okay, well, have you told them? Have you said anything? Do you expect them magically by osmosis to just know one day?
Yeah.
Okay, if they didn't know yesterday, I got news for you. They don't know today. Okay.
Right.
So really, you want to set your spouse up for success, not failure. All right. Now, am I saying nag? I'm not saying nag. And let me inform you, dudes can nag too. Okay. So I'm just saying, don't nag them. Talk to them. Say, because really, this is where you've got to determine if it's neglect. If it's not something if it's just something that irritates you, that doesn't make it neglect. Okay. If it's a consistent behavior, if people have come up to you and said, hey, such and such, is this a problem? Because it seems like this, then you want to start looking at it as neglect. Don't push it off as it's just you either. What do I mean by that? This especially happens with women. They'll be in the case of, oh, well, I just need to not make such a big deal out because they have no boundaries.
Right.
Okay. They'll let the husband walk all over them, and the husband I got news for you, has no clue that he's walking all over you because you haven't told him, you haven't set that boundary. All right. Boundaries are very important. A boundary isn't something that can't be crossed. It's a fence you put up that you allow to be crossed under your own conditions from time to time. Okay. So the whole point of it is like, I don't go out with my buddies. Okay.
He should.
Anyway, not because I don't want to, but just because there are things I would rather do with my wife. Now, she does go out with her girlfriends. Do I have a boundary for that? Well, yes and no. I want to know where you're at. It's not because I don't trust. It's because I want to know you're okay. If there's an accident or something happens, I want to know generally where you were so I know which direction to head. Okay, now if something happens and she changes positions and she doesn't get a hold of me right away, do I completely lose my crap because the boundary was you let me know where you're at? No. All right, I allow for that gate to open on that boundary because she's a grown friggin' woman, all right? And she can make her own choice. She knows what I want. I've communicated that. She's shown me that generally she will always do that. I know that when she gets to a place, eventually she's going to remember that she needed to let me know that she had moved positions, and so she'll call me. I don't have to be rigid with that boundary. I can open the gate on that boundary by permission or by just because I feel it needs to be allowed.
Well, I wouldn't say permission because I've never had to seek your permission on anything. I want to, though. I want you to agree with the choices or the things that I want to do with my friends. And like, for instance, next week, I'm going to be gone all week. And Mike is totally cool with that because my best friend and I don't get to see each other that much. And it's a special treat for her birthday. And so it's really exciting and happy time for me. But at the same time, I never let those things get to be my number one priority. Mike is my 100 or my first priority. And so it's important to me that I do ask him, hey, would you mind? And that's my thing. He does it too when he is going to go out with, one of our kids or something like that. But it's just really important to both of us to make sure the other knows where we're at, make sure that we know, that the other is okay and things like that. So it's really a above reproach thing, but it's also just caring so much about our spouse, each other, that we're willing to just say, hey, do you mind?
Yeah.
And one of the things that really came up when you were talking was the fact that neglect is really one of the top reasons that people start having emotional affairs.
Yeah.
Typically it's women. It's not always women though. So I just want to warn you that if you are neglecting your spouse, whether it be sexually, whether it be your time, it really depends on their love language. But if you are neglecting your spouse, you are opening your remarriage up to an affair, emotional affair. And typically speaking, emotional affairs are harder to deal with than physical affairs. I'm not saying go have a physical affair, but they're harder to deal with because you don't the other person does not understand why. And so couples that we have counseled and that we have helped through an emotional affair, there's been harder things to deal with in that than there was in the couples that we've helped that have had to deal with an emotion or a physical affair.
And it's a longer healing period too.
Yeah. Because a lot of trust is broken. Yes, trust is broken in a physical affair, but those emotional ones are tough.
The emotional affairs aren't just a breaking of trust either.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a breaking of trust, but what happens is all of the neglect that has been ignored comes right here.
Yep.
There is no denying it. There's no getting around it. You've either got to admit it or you've got to move on. I mean, it's just the way it is. And so the neglect always bears its ugly head. There's no getting around it. All right.
Yeah.
And for those of you, just as a side note, I know there are those of you out there that are thinking, Mike, do you honestly expect your wife to tell you everywhere she's at when she's over with her best friend? No. That rule is for when she's around here because we have adverse weather conditions. We have deer and elk and everything else that goes out in the road. I'm just telling you, it's a health and safety issue. My thing when my wife goes to see her best friend, quite honestly, I don't even want to hear from her for the week. Why? Because I need her to know I'm totally okay with her doing whatever it is she's going to do. And she doesn't have to check in with me. She doesn't have to call and talk to me. If I don't hear from her for 2 or 3 days, I'm okay with that because I know if I don't hear from her, I know she's having fun. The more I hear from her, then I wonder, are you having fun or what's going on? But
And I just want to clarify again, for those of you that are hearing Mike say rules and you're thinking, you have a rule?
yes, I do.
No, he does not have a rule for me. I have a rule for me, and I've told him that is my rule.
Yeah.
Okay? So don't get off his back. I've made that rule, and I've just told him. It's all good.
And it's mutual trust and respect.
Yes.
I mean, in fact, I'll throw this in. Now, I know we're talking about neglect. Okay.
Sorry.
This is the freebie, and this will really irritate some of you. Okay. Now, we talk about everything. Okay. We make decisions together about everything.
Yes.
But I am the head of this house. And it's not because...
Yes, ladies, he's the head.
And
I want him to be.
It's not because...
Sorry.
It's not because I'm overbearing and because I'm a jerk.
Yep.
It's because that's the way we've chosen to do this. When you walk into a business and you're not happy with, say you go through a fast food joint, if you're not happy with a meal and you come into the business and you're not happy with the employee, who do you ask for? You ask for the manager. So why is it that we don't have a problem going to the head in those respects, but then we have a problem saying there's a head? It's okay for somebody to have the last say in the house. You need to agree on who that's going to be. In our household, it's me. 9.5 times out of 10, we make the decision together and we're totally cool with it. And then there's times when it's like, she's like, I don't know, and I just got to make the call. And we're okay with that. And that is the area we come from when we're talking about neglect and when we're talking about rules. Yes, they're rules. Yes, they're boundaries, but they're movable. They're not set in stone. They're simply, hey, this is what I would appreciate from you. hey, this is what you would appreciate from me.
Honestly, people, I respect Mike more because he's willing to take the brunt of any issue that we have as the leader of our household. So those of you that are thinking, well, that's kind of silly. Oh, that's old fashioned. I'm good with that. You think whatever you want. The new model of, men and women being equal in their marriage, which we are, but this new model, it doesn't work. It creates more divorces. It creates more frustration between the couple. It's stupid. So that's why we do it this way. It's tried and true.
Yep, and that new way strips the uniqueness from both the male and the female in the house. So anyway, that was your freebie.
Yeah. Well, and another thing that I was thinking about is, with Mike being the head, it's better because he's more calm and collected. I tend to be somewhat, in some situations, I can be somewhat of a hothead. And so it helps me that he deals with that stuff, and then I can have a moment to just be calm and, learn to be calm and collect myself, and I wouldn't necessarily characterize myself as a hothead, but there have been situations where I just want to, whatever. And so that's not positive. That doesn't help anyone. And so it helps me that Mike, he's the first person that deals with stuff. I love it because then it takes a lot of the upfront where I haven't had time to think about how I'm going to deal with it. It takes all of that away because I don't make a mistake. He covers me with his being in charge, and he helps me to be my best self because I don't have to deal with it right away. I deal with it later, and it gives me time to think about how I want to be. So it really helps me. Thank you. Anyways, tips. We got some tips.
No, we did the tips.
Yeah, okay.
We just ran through a bunch of tips.
All right. So this is a little longer than normal. We thank you so very much for being with us this entire time. Understand that we're not trying to be snotty or rude. We're just really trying to get our point across that we're both okay with how we choose to do things. Mm-hmm. We would very much suggest, and we suggest this with all of our clients, to do things this way as well, because it really helps. It really helps for the man to be the covering of the woman. So anywho, we hope that this helped you. Please comment below if you have any questions on how to get past neglect, how to, if you've dealt with an emotional affair, either you or your spouse, how you can get through those things. We have some tips for you. Comment below and please subscribe. We just love it if you would. All right, we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.